is time travel? Well, in this video I'm going to be breaking it down for you in simple, well, relatively simple ways. First, I'd like to discuss with you what is time. Okay, some of these are going to be opinionated, some of these are going to be ideas, but, you know, is time really a thing? Time describes change. That's what time describes. It describes when you are at a point and something happens after that. Right? Something changes. That's how we picture time elapsing. But is time really a rule? Perceptions of time vary depending on situations, right? Perceptions of time are completely different. Does that mean that, so if perceptions of time is how we organize things. Is time real? Is time actually woven into reality? There's ways to go about that. Since we relate time with change, then yes. But if we are relating time with what we think is time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, then no. That time, the time, when somebody asks what's the time, and you give them like 12, it's noon, 12, 1. That isn't how time necessarily works. This is how we perceive time to organize our experiences into so that we can grasp them. Time can be very long for somebody else, and very short for you, or vice versa. Right? So, one example, we don't really know what time is. There's a lot of ideas out there. One was presented, and it was you. So, you know that there's matter in the universe. You know that, right? Matter is made up of molecules, atoms, stuff like that. Things you can't see, right? Things you can't see. So, if somebody handed you a molecule of Brian Greene, Dr. Brian Greene, he kind of brushed on this a little bit. If I gave you a H2O molecule, number one, you probably wouldn't know it's there, but since I gave it to you and I let you know, you do. Would you think that's water? That little molecule, you think that's water? Technically it is, but you don't really think of that like that. You're just like, it's just a little dot, it's like nothing. It takes millions of those to build up into something. Billions of those, just a whole bunch of those to build up into something that you would perceive as water. Liquid water, solid water, doesn't matter. And what if time is made up of these little particles, right? So you have an atom of hydrogen, an atom of oxygen, you have a molecule of H2O. What about time? Is time somehow woven into the fabric of space? as in, is time made of these particles? This was what Dr. Brian Greene was getting at. He's a very, very respected scientist. And he was talking about that. And it was really cool to hear some proposing different ideas. And, I mean, that might not be his own idea, but he was thinking about that. He was brushing over this topic as the H2O kind of thinking as the molecule. So since I had that one little tiny thing of that one little tiny molecule of H2O, and then it takes multiple to make water, to make what you perceive as water, what you would conceptualize as water. How about time? Maybe one particle doesn't do nothing, but you get a whole bunch together, and maybe that does something. Time is relative. Time is an illusion, as Albert Einstein said. Time is an illusion. It really is. Time is all based on perception, but yet it is woven into reality as much as time elapsing. Time elapsing is just the change, like we covered, just a change in how we synchronize that so that we can process it in our own thoughts. So I'll give you like a representation. So say that say that you're sitting down, okay? Say that you're sitting down and someone is walking towards you, looking all angry. I'm gonna get you. Think about that. Okay. They're coming towards you, looking disgruntled, and they're walking towards you. You perceive them walking towards you as slower than they're perceiving them walking towards you. Their perception of time is going much faster than your perception of time. Everything is slowing down for you, even though it's still the same. You're still flowing on the same time, the same sequence of time, right? Relatively speaking, but your perception changes, right? The same time plane, I would call it. Time is still elapsing, but your perception changes from theirs. It differs. Now we get to time travel. Is time travel possible? Yes. It is possible. We've known for hundreds of years that it was possible. Albert Einstein even told us not just one, but 2 ways that you can do it. All right? So I want you to think, okay, so I got a visual representation. This is a bread loaf, if you can't already tell. So one of the ways that the great Albert Einstein, told us that we could go travel in time. So when I say travel in time, I would say mental time travel and actual time travel. Okay, so I would propose that there's mental time travel and physical time travel. Mental time travel I would use to describe your perception. Your perception of time would drastically change. And how much you think you have aged when it's really been. Have you ever thought you were reading a book for like 15 minutes and it turned out to be 3 hours, I would perceive that as mental time travel. Physical time travel can be used with this bread loaf. Okay? It can be organized in that thought. So, each of these little slices here are sequences in time. Okay? And each of the little separations are just entrances to the sequences. Okay? The divisions of the sequences. Now, say you wanted to get to here. Say you wanted to get from right here. You wanted to get from right here in this little slice. And you wanted to get, so you started right here and you want to get to right here. Right there. How would you do that? Because if you were to do that in the normal path, you'd have to take all these sequences right here. That could be however many years. If you wanted to see 1,000 years in the future, you could do it this way. So say this is like 1,000 years. You start right here, and you want to end up right there. Einstein said to do this, you would build a spacecraft, so build a spaceship, and travel near the speed of light. Okay? Travel near the speed of light. So you travel, and say that you travel for 6 months, or what you perceive as 6 months. You travel to a point, and then you just turn around. Okay? Travel for 6 months, turn around. So you will have only aged 1 year. And then you come back down to that point, and depending on how fast you went and how near the speed of light you went, determines if that could be 1,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, trillion years, billion years. Point is, you traveled. That's time travel right there. You aged 1 year, but everybody else aged 1,000, vice versa, so on and so forth. That's a really cool thing to think about, isn't it? Now, another way that he described is hanging around near a black hole. Okay, so as you are hanging around that black hole, time is going to elapse a lot faster for the people, a lot slower for you than it is for the people around you. So hang out near that black hole. You'll think it's forever. But it will be like 5 minutes for you, and it will be like forever for everybody else. 5 minutes could turn into 30 years, 1,000 years, depends. And I think that's really cool to think about, how we can actually time travel. Of course, we're all going to age, but the thing is leapfrogging to the future. All right? I would propose that time has planes. There's a physical one, and then there's the mental one. Physically, yes, there's time. Time is change. Things change over time. But I would say that there's also mental time, as far as your perceptions and things go. There's a difference. Your perception changes on the timeline. Your perception will alter your mental. Right? It will as time goes, time might not be a flat, consistent thing if it's mixed in with the mind time. But if it goes and your perception halts it a little bit, it's going to create waves. And it's going to be, blockier, or it's going to be shorter or longer depending on that. Time will not be... We try to organize time by measuring it seconds, milliseconds, nanoseconds, minutes, hours, days, all that. We try to organize time and so we can conceptualize, so we can plan, so we can do all this stuff. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Because, back then they needed to know, when are we going to hunt? When are we going to harvest? Oh, well, next year. Next year this time, harvest season. A year is just a conception of time. It's a way to wrap your head around what's going to happen. And time travel is possible if you're just focusing on getting to the future. As far as getting to the past is concerned, I would say no. I would say that isn't possible. There has been many reputable scientists that have come out with theories and suggestions on how you might go about this. But as science and technology go, I think we'll be able to weed out, and so we can't say for sure. We can't say for sure that you cannot travel back in time. There's been scientists who have talked about how you can go back in time, how you might be able to. But when other scientists looked in that in detail, it failed. Or it just looked not what they would want for evidence as to doing that. And of course, with the problem with time travel, I'll get to the problem with time travel later, but with going back in time travel, you have to take into account that we can only go forward. We can only elapse. Time is ever elapsing, right? Time is an illusion, yes, but time is ever elapsing. It will keep going. When I think of going back in time, I'm like, how would you do that? Could you think to do that? Like, if you were jumping from one point right to the other, like we did, like I showed you in the future, how would you go back? I'm not entirely certain that would be, because you would have to be aging relative to everybody else. But what would that do for your perception of time? I'm not entirely, I don't believe that you can travel back in time. And I think that as science progresses, we're going to be able to weed out and say with promising, with full confidence that you cannot, in fact, travel back in time. The problem with time travel is traveling to the future is that it is mathematically and theoretically possible. But physically there are limitations. Why might I say that? Well, depending on how close you are to the speed of light, because that's what you have to travel, if you go the speed of light, atoms become like bullets. And number one, I don't even know how we would have enough power to get a machine to go that fast. Yes, we've got to the speed of sound. We've got, yeah. Okay, we get that. We've accomplished that. But the speed of light's way faster. The speed of light is like picture a little speed of sound. I picture the speed of light. Faster. It's like Usain Bolt compared to, well, me. I'm like, and he's just like, that is the problem, though. So you number one, building the machine to do that. Wow. Also with the black hole, so if we're going with the spaceship idea, building the machine and not getting shredded by atoms. And, you know, just getting shredded, because you get shredded. So how would we prevent that? And then the second one, with the black hole, you'd have to get close enough to the black hole. You'd have to get close enough to the black hole to stay. And at that point, you would get sucked into the black hole. The gravity from the black hole would take effect. And what's cool with the black hole thing, so this is another perception of time. So as you are going into with this perception of time, what happens as you go into the black hole? Well, we can only theorize, but so we don't exactly know what's happens when you go into one. There's actually theories that we might be living in a black hole and we don't know about it. There's a thought experiment, and we would have no way of knowing because we don't know what is actually in the black hole. There's a lot we don't know about black holes. Now, as far as a black hole is concerned with the time thing, so as you are approaching a black hole, so say that you and your buddy are, so say that he's on a spaceship out of reach of the gravitational pull of the black hole, right? You are going to, as you find yourself going closer and closer to the event horizon, your buddy's going to be thinking, like 15 seconds. You're going to be thinking it's 3 hours. You know, you're going to be thinking it's a lot longer than what your buddy is thinking, or at least what he's timing. Reality in a black hole gets super weird. We don't really quite know. But as you enter this black hole, and as you pass the event horizon, you're going to get something happens called spaghettification, where the molecules are ripped apart, and due to the force of gravity being so absolutely strong. And then after, so let's say that you survive that singularity and you're in one piece, eventually you're going to reach something known as singularity. We do not know what singularity is. We reckon that the laws of physics don't really make sense in singularity. We don't really know what singularity is. We just speculate. We don't even know if it's in a black hole. We just speculate that it will be in a black hole. We could be living in singularity right now. We don't know. We don't know. So, those are the problems with time travel. Is time travel possible? Yes. But is it feasible? No. Not right now. Will it ever be feasible? I couldn't tell you. I have to time travel into the future and find out. Well, that's all for me. Like, subscribe. Hope this made you think a little bit. It's as well broken down as you might get. these are some of, I propose some of my theories as to time, but when you look at other people describing it, like string theorists and astrophysicists, so if you look at Neil deGrasse Tyson, you look at Brian Greene, all these people, they're going to have the same type of thing to say about that. They might differ on the going back in time, like I stated, but as far as forward in time and time travel, yes, they're going to have the same type of view on it. But that's what we're going to have to find out in the future. This world's amazing. So, keep it popping, my fine feathered homies, and I will see you later.